Creativity. For as long as I can remember, it's been one of the words that best describes my life. Ever since I was a little kid, I would sing whenever I could, make up stories to play out with my friends, and doodle on anything I could get my hands on. My love of making new things grew with me as I grew older, and when I got into college, I thought I already knew all about creativity and what it meant. But boy was I wrong. I'd only scratched the surface. I learned that creative pursuits can help people bond more quickly than I would have thought possible, like the community I found in the choir I joined freshman year. Seeing the talents of those around me inspired me to grow, and I loved sharing those experiences with my newfound friends. I took writing classes and learned what it means to encourage my peers in a workshop environment. I volunteered on student film sets and learned a whole new set of skills in the process. And of course, I embraced chances to make fun art projects with my friends whenever I could, so we could share the satisfaction of making something new together. My view of creativity changed exponentially more through my time in the Honors College. All of a sudden, I was presented with great works that talked all about the creativity I'd grown to love. Authors like G.K. Chesterton and C.S. Lewis fed my enthusiasm and taught me that creativity was even more important than I'd thought. Chesterton wrote that poetry and other forms of artistic expression can be like medicine for our minds because, in his words, to accept everything is an exercise, to understand everything is a strain. The poet only desires exaltation and expansion, a world to stretch himself in. The poet only asks to get his head into heaven. This passage and others like it taught me about how valuable the open-mindedness creativity provides really is, and further fed my passion for learning. I learned that creativity can open my perspective past what the world is to what it could be, so that I can simultaneously appreciate reality and see how it can be better. I have found that nothing provides this broadened perspective better than stories. Fiction has the unique ability to push you just far away from yourself, that hard truths can be grasped without pride getting in the way. My love of writing such stories is one of the biggest factors that compelled me to study abroad in England, so I could see the inspiration of so many amazing stories and continue to grow as an artist. The entire atmosphere is different there, and the longer I spent there, the more I could understand how such fantastical books could have been written there. When you're walking down the streets of Oxford, everything seems grand and old and mysterious enough that finding a magical land in a wardrobe might not be so impossible. In fact, the painting you're watching a time-lapse of now was inspired by some ruins I visited while in England. My creative studies there were primarily focused on writing stories as I studied the art of short fiction and adaptation from books to films. My time in England really helped me understand what Chesterton meant when he said, "Man must have just enough faith in himself to have adventures, and just enough doubt of himself to enjoy them." I can happily say that every day I spent there was an adventure that I enjoyed to the fullest. After coming back home, I was immediately launched into my Oxbridge studies on Tolkien and what it means to understand creativity as a virtue. Through my studies of Tolkien, I found that creativity is even more beautiful than I had imagined. I learned that creativity is inherently connected to morality, even when you don't realize it. In his letters, Tolkien said, "Myth and fairy stories must, as all art, reflect and contain in solution elements of moral and religious truth, or error, but not explicit, not in the known form of the primary real world." So, even if you don't think about it, all forms of art are in some way reflecting truth, so that it can be seen and understood outside of the context of our everyday lives. Tolkien takes this connection even further to say that as Christians, we worship God when we create things, or as he would say, subcreate things. Even though what we make is flawed, since we're imperfect due to sin, we reflect God's nature as creator when we use our imaginations. In his poem Mythopoeia, Tolkien compares humans to prisms that embrace God's light and split it into many colors to reveal just how beautiful and deep God's light is. Every act of creativity shows the depth of the beauty of God's creation, even if just to show how amazing he designed the human mind and imagination to be. Another perspective on this connection between God as creator and humans as sub-creators can be found in Chesterton's writings when he says, "God has given us not so much the colors of a picture as the colors of a palette. He has given us a subject, a model, a fixed vision. we must be clear about what we want to paint. This adds a further principle to our previous list of principles. We have said we must be fond of this world, even in order to change it. Now we add that we must be fond of another world, real or imaginary, in order to have something to change it to. With these imaginations God gave us, we can see the ways the world can be better, and we can use our creative minds to find ways to achieve those goals slowly but surely. And you don't need to do something monumental to see that change. Through studying Tolkien, I learned that just as he describes creativity as light, every act of creativity, no matter how big or small, has the potential to make the world a little brighter, even if you're the only one who seems to notice. As I now approach graduation, I am doing my best to embrace creativity and all I've learned about it. I hope to be able to use my passion to write stories that brighten other people's lives, and worship God with the imagination He's blessed me with. I don't know what new adventures He'll throw my way, or what the path ahead will look like, but I think that's okay. After all, what kind of adventure would life be if we already knew the whole story? All I know is that I can trust God as the creator of this masterpiece of life to make something magnificent out of all of our collective stories, even if it might take us little humans a while to see it.